thanks for tuning in to Keep It Legal, the show where we break down concepts, litigation, and current events in the law with our legal experts. I'm your host, Mark Anik, and joining us today is incoming U.S. Magistrate Judge Derek Gilliland, formerly with Soria and Gilliland, the day before he takes the bench in Waco. Derek, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, first things first, I said that this is the day before you take the bench. So this, I guess, is officially the last time I get to address you as Derek. If we have this call tomorrow, I have to address you as judge. What is that like to have people call you judge?
It takes some getting used to, that's for sure. But it's, I don't know, it's neat. It's exciting, but definitely will take some getting used to. You can take more getting used to not calling other judges judge. That's a little different too.
Oh, so now in a conversation with other jurists, you won't address them as such?
Well, typically, yeah, I'm discovering that you just call each other by your first name more often than not. So, which is odd when it's somebody that you've called, judge for 10 years or better.
Let's talk about some of the family things first. We were talking about calling you judge. Are people around the house going to have to call you that as well?
Well, my wife said she wasn't going to call me judge, and I told her that's okay because Your Honor would work just fine. But
how'd that go over?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, nobody around the house. They're there to remind me that I'm just Derek. So, and they're pretty good at it.
What is that like for you to think? I mean, you have a career as a trial lawyer, and you always have walked into court and there's been that person in the robes on the bench. What is it like to think that people will be walking into your court and that you will be that person on the bench and in the robes?
It's somewhat, I'd say somewhat intimidating or a little nervous about it, just to essentially live up to what I think should be the standard, and after having been in front of many great judges, hopefully I can handle a courtroom and hearings and trials with the same decorum and as that they did.
What is the standard? You said when you describe trying to live up to this, you have an ideal in your mind, right? Because you've seen good judges. And don't let me put words in your mouth, maybe not so good judges. But what is that standard from your perspective? So
from my perspective, I guess it's to there needs to be a certain level of seriousness in the courtroom because it's a federal case. If it comes in, it's an important matter, at least to the parties. So to maintain the air of formality or seriousness that the parties deserve, but also to be respectful to both sides. Let everybody hopefully feel like they've gotten their opportunity to be heard, and that that nothing was biased against them one way or the other. That hopefully they see it as me doing the best I can to apply the law to the facts to reach a resolution that I think is the right one, versus somehow them coming away with it feeling like they just got hometown or treated differently just because of who they were. So I hope everybody comes away with, or at least to me, it seems like a judge should make sure everybody feels like they're all on a level playing field and that the issues and cases are decided on the facts in the process as well. Nobody's demeaned, nobody's looked down upon or talked down to either.
This is not your first job in Waco, as I understand. You graduated from A&M, and then tell me what you did when you first went there.
So my first job in Waco was as a mechanical engineer with a defense contracting company called Chrysler Technologies Airborne Systems. We did avionics upgrades. The division I was in, we did avionics upgrades for the Air Force. So I did that for about 2 years before law school. And the last project I worked on were upgrades to the old military, I think it was the EC-130 gunships that were getting pretty dated. So we were updating the night vision and some other armor and other things like that. So that was my first stint in Waco. It was 2 years of that.
Wow.
And then I went to law school from there.
Did you know all along, even when you were going to school for mechanical engineering, did you know that you wanted to be a lawyer?
No, not at all.
How did that happen?
When I finished undergrad, I'd always kind of been interested in it, but when I finished my undergrad degree, I'd had all the education that I could stand. I was tired of going to school, and I swore I was never going to school again. So I got out and started working. And then after a couple of years, I thought that it would be that I could stand some more education, and law school seemed like a really interesting avenue.
And tell me about that. You went to Baylor Law. You have practiced how many years now as a trial lawyer?
So I got out in in May of 98, licensed in November of 98. So closing in on 24 years as a trial lawyer, both attended Baylor and Waco, and then practiced for a couple of years in Austin, and then back in Waco for about a decade. And then I've been in East Texas for a little over a decade, and now coming back to Waco.
Will you miss being a trial lawyer? Will you miss being the person standing up and advocating on behalf of a client or a cause?
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be times where I miss it. There are parts of it I'll miss and parts of it I won't. It'd be different, but a lot of fun to be the person that's trying to make the decision as fairly as possible. Essentially, as we used to say as trial lawyers, I'll be the guy calling balls and strikes. So it'll be, to my mind at least, it's a fun way to still be part of the game or part of the process, but not necessarily an advocate on one side or the other.
Did you ever envision yourself as that guy calling the balls and strikes? Did you think, wow, someday I want to be on the bench? Or did this just happen?
No, it just happened. It was something every once in a while I think, man, it'd be kind of neat to be a judge, but I guess I'd never set about trying to become a judge or had it as part of a potential career plan. And so when the opportunity came up, it just sort of happened and worked out. Yeah.
Now, you have some history with the gentleman who has turned Waco into this IP powerhouse, Judge Alan Albright of the Western District. You and he tried an IP case and won a $96 million verdict.
That's correct. Yeah. Back in 2013.
And you were on the same side.
We were for he and I actually, from 2010 to 2013, he and I developed the case. There was obviously a team of people, but he and I sat side by side taking more than half of the depositions in the case, and then we were side by side at counsel table as the two attorneys presenting the plaintiff's side of the case. So for 11 days of trial up in Tacoma, Washington.
So you two have some history.
Yeah. So when you go through something like that, you get to know somebody pretty well. And then we got along great. And of course, the result of the case made it even easier to stay good friends. So we've stayed friends since then.
What's something you can tell us about Judge Albright that maybe we don't know from all of the news coverage that he's had?
Well, I don't think it's ever come up in the news, but he's I don't know that voracious is the right word, but he's a extensive runner. He runs a lot. Even when we were in trial, he always carved out at least half an hour or more on the treadmill every day to just, I guess, to unwind and blow off stress. But even to this day, he runs miles on a daily basis.
Very interesting. What about you? What is the thing that you will be doing when you're not on the bench?
Oh, wow. Well, the two hobbies I have are cycling. I like to cycle, road bike. I haven't raced in a while, but I do like to do that a little. And then water sports. I've fallen into where I really enjoy wakeboarding. So those are two things I'll spend a lot of time doing when I'm not working.
I know that in East Texas, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've also been a volunteer firefighter, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Is that anything you'll be able to continue? I know Waco has its own department, but is that anything you can do any more of?
I don't know. I'd like to. It's been a lot of fun, and I've got into it when I was in Waco initially because the city of Woodway supplemented its paid force with volunteers. And then when I moved to East Texas, I got back into it after a hiatus, and Actually went to Kilgore offered a sort of hybrid online in-person fire academy. So I was able to do that and then get certified and do the same to get certified as an EMT. So those are two certifications I have. I'd love to use them. It's a fun thing to do. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to keep doing that in Waco, but I'd like to find a way if possible.
So you're certified both as a firefighter and an EMT?
Correct.
Okay. So if there's a problem in the courthouse, someone's going to call Judge Gilliland.
Well, maybe. I know how to do CPR and apply an AED, so I've got that going for me.
You're ahead of the rest of us. Talk to me about being a magistrate judge. What does a U.S. magistrate judge do, and how does that differ from a district court judge?
Sure. So the magistrate judge is one, it's a term appointment. It's an 8-year term that's renewable as opposed to a lifetime term. And then the magistrate operates with essentially a delegation of authority from the district judge. And so I can and will handle pretrial matters in civil cases, discovery disputes, Markman hearings, that sort of thing. On case dispositive motions, those are decided under like a summary judgment motion. A magistrate judge can rule on them, but it's called a report and recommendation. And then the district judge either adopts it or changes it. And so in civil cases, I can do everything up to the trial. And if it's something that would dismiss the case, then that's done as a report and recommendation. And if the parties consent, which hopefully we'll be able to get a bunch of consents. If they consent, then I just do everything like the district judge would, including the trial. And then the criminal, I'll be learning the criminal on the fly. But it's Judge Mansky, who's already there, is well versed in the criminal. And Waco has a fairly heavy criminal docket, but he's very good at handling that.
So if I look at your career, then we've got engineering, trial lawyer, now magistrate judge. What comes after magistrate judge for Derek Gilliland?
I have no idea. Maybe retirement. I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll just wait and see. I really didn't plan this far. So we'll see what the next several years hold.
You're a trial lawyer, so you know this better than I do, right? Any trial lawyer walking into court wants to know as much as possible as she can about that judge and about the way he or she runs a court, what he or she likes or doesn't like. Give me the quick rundown on what does a lawyer need to know about incoming Judge Gilliland? What's a way to do things properly and correctly in your court that will get me on your good side?
Gotcha. Well, obviously be prepared when you show up, organized and prepared. So there's as little downtime where you're waiting for somebody to pull their papers together or get organized. And then I think one of the other key things is to be as respectful as possible of both the court and opposing counsel. And that was something I was taught pretty early on in my career is you can disagree without being disagreeable. And so I don't think anything will rub me the wrong way faster than if somehow an argument evolves to the point of taking shots at the other lawyer. I just would rather hear the merits of the argument, the legal issues and the facts, and in a professional and respectful way.
The Western District, I don't have to tell you, Judge Albright has turned it into this intellectual property powerhouse. I read a story earlier this week that said there were 970 cases, I believe, filed there in 2021, fully 1/4 of all the IP cases in the United States. There's Judge Albright and is it Judge Mansky?
Correct.
Okay. Who's a magistrate judge? You will be a second magistrate judge. Does that mean we should expect to see even more cases, IP cases coming to Waco?
Well, it's hard to say for the plaintiffs, but I think with me taking the bench, the idea is that we can handle the volume of cases that are there and we can handle an increased volume of cases. So hopefully it results in more cases coming to Waco.
Does it ever get to the point, Derek, where is there any such thing as too many cases in Waco?
There probably get to that point at some point. I don't know what the number is, but I could see it getting to the point where the docket starts to slow down and things can't get resolved or trials can't happen as fast as they should. And I don't think we're at that point yet. And hopefully with me coming on, it'll be quite a while before we get to that point.
So we've also asked some of our listeners to write in with some questions. And I've got one here from a law school student. They want to know, what advice would you give a young lawyer early in his or her career?
Oh, wow. I would say to seek out and accept as many opportunities to either argue hearings or try cases, even if it's not a big case. But if you want to be a trial lawyer, that is, the more time you can get in front of a judge on your feet or in front of a jury on your feet earlier in your career, the better you'll be in the long run. And those are opportunities that are there, but you really sometimes as a young lawyer kind of have to push or make sure people know that you want those opportunities and volunteer for them every chance you get.
With all of the talk of the vanishing jury trial, it feels like young lawyers really have to go out of their way to get that experience.
That's true. Yeah. And the very first case I tried, I was sworn in as a lawyer, actually by a paralegal at the firm I was at, so that I could help another associate try a pro bono case on the very next Monday. So I think I was sworn in on Thursday or Friday and tried a case Monday. And it was a pro bono case. So you've just got to be willing to seek out not necessarily the big, expensive or high dollar or high risk cases, but just a case where somebody needs representation and figure out how to make it work.
Do something to get into court.
That's right.
So how did that first case turn out? Do you remember?
I did. Well, it was good and bad. We got everything we were asking for. It was for a lady who'd kind of been messed around by an auto repair shop. And so we got all of the damages plus attorney's fees that we could for the bad part of it was, I think the repair shop the very next week or two, sometime in the following month, declared bankruptcy. So I don't know that she ever got fully paid, but we at least got what we wanted for the lady.
Okay, I need to end maybe, unless there's something else you want to add, with my most important question, and it's this. So with Waco becoming this IP focus, you've got lawyers from all over the country coming to Waco, and you're a Waco veteran yourself, having worked there and practiced law there, gone to school there. Where should they go for lunch?
Oh boy, I can't say, because then everybody I don't say might be mad at me. But I can say there are a lot of really good restaurants and new ones coming up all the time. Close to the courthouse is a place called Union Hall with a whole bunch of restaurants in it. Just down the road is a really good Greek place and a really good barbecue place, one direction, and really good Mexican food in the other direction. So if you just start at the courthouse and expand out, you're going to find all sorts of great options.
I lied. I've got one more question. How excited are you knowing that tomorrow is the day? Oh,
I'm over the moon. Yeah, I'm terribly excited about it. So it seems like it's taken forever to get here. It's kind of, but now it's right here. So I've told people in the past that I kind of feel like a kid waiting for Christmas. And so Christmas is tomorrow. It's kind of like Christmas Eve when you're 10 years old or something.
That's great. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck to you tomorrow and going forward on the bench.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for joining us today. That was Derek Gilliland, incoming U.S. Magistrate Judge in Waco. Make sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and tune in next time to Keep It Legal. I'm your host, Mark Anik. See you then.